the oceans were split up, you see. Each ocean, Atlantic, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, the home station, and then you went into India, South India, and each ocean had its own fleet, sort of ships that were there for escort duty. Now, they employed everything they could get. It had a speed of about 20 knots to chase submarines. Every trawlers or anything it could get up to 18, 20 knots. They employed them and armed them, depth charges and a forage gun and sent them off. And they sailed with the fleet, you see, out on the outside.
So you were in these escorting the merchant ships.
But the thing I was on was a 23,000 ton liner. Now we were supposed to be there for when you say the main defence. We'd 8 6-inch guns, 4 either side, you see. But honest, you wouldn't believe it. One of the guns I was on, the bridge block was dated 1906. That's what we was trying to fight a war with. And when you looked out, when you was behind it and close up firing, when you looked out, instead of the bullet going that way, it went flop, flop, flop. That's refuse. Oh, it was hopeless. Really. What a wasted time when you think about it. You had to do it, and you just sell for nothing.
Do you think there was any element of it where it was you had to be seen to have big big ships protecting it, and
yes,
the Germans couldn't see that the gun was from 1906?
Well, you see,
or the Japanese, or
the Japanese, and towards the end they had hundreds and hundreds of submarines. But earlier on, you see, there weren't enough submarines to go around either, to the sections. So you see, you'd 5 or 6 submarines maybe over in the North Atlantic. Well, that's a big odds. The size of the pond you're selling then.
Yeah.
But then there was a lot of ships sold. We were lucky, we never, the only thing we did, we were taken to Aztec trawlers from Madagascar to, South Side India. Sandbank, what do you call it? Anyway.
Was it an island?
Yes.
Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And we were taking them to Sri Lanka. And of course, I think the trawler was the original trawler. She had a stamp post that stuck out ahead, she was ancient. And you could do about 4 knots an hour, and was sailing along. And this day, at just about noon, there was a sudden panic. The red pennant was hung up, which was immediate attack. So everybody dashed to their action station and made ready, so away they went. And give the Arctic Raiders their due. They picked them up and kept them. And we went in and we crossed them with 5 the hell do you call it? they kind of had to drop destroyers.
What? Depth charges?
Depth charges. We went in, we dropped 4 going one way, turned about, picked them up, got them again, and come back and run across them again, and dropped another 4, you see. So we stayed there as long as the skipper thought was allowed, because his main duty was taking this other ship to Sri Lanka, you see. So he says, well, we better clear out because that's our job. So we chased them up and caught them and took them to Sri Lanka. But on the road home, from after we'd been there and we got a little bit of repair done, and we were bound back to Africa, Mombasa, about 2 or 3 days out, we got a signal. The Mastiff was had a quarter submarine, half a submarine, because we damaged the submarine when we went in, and a convoy coming back the next morning picked them up on top of the water and sunk them. So we had a credit of half a submarine. The Mastiff, she was a whale chaser.
So you were telling me yesterday about Canada. You went after you were stationed in sort of around Africa and India. You were doing Atlantic crossings and you were based in Canada?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was based in Halifax. Well, there was a big fleet of liners based in Halifax. That east coast of Canada, that was just busy spot, I suppose.
Was that sort of importing food and goods and stuff over to the UK, so to sort of, because we were quite isolated in Europe? Yeah.
Bring it across to this side. The first time we come home, and you used to come across with a convoy, you see, for about 15 or 16 days. Because it was strong convoys. The ships, majority of ships, had only done about 8 or 9 knots. You see, it wasn't the speed of high-speed shipping as it is now. It was the old, after the first war ships that were doing.
How long would the crossing take nowadays, do you think?
How long would it go? Well, you were always altering course in case, you see, you would steam on, you just couldn't say how far on one direction, north, I'll say. Then on a blast, the horn would go and the convoy would see the blast of the steam and hear it, and it would be based at like 2 minutes from now. Everybody thought, and they used to turn, what is it like? Oh. It was a terrific movement. It was terrific. And I never, well, we never had an accident, but there was.
What?
There was
people crashed into each other?
Because you don't nations, our nations joined in the convoys. They were only coming to Britain. We can't other port in Europe, and they took advantage of safety. Because the German didn't come up and ask everybody, are you a British ship? They just come up and sunk them. If you're my road to go.
Yeah.
Oh, it was monotonous. You did a trip across and back in about a month. So you did a convoy in a month. So you did 12 to 13 convoys in a year on the trip. And in between the Halifax convoys, in between part of them, you would go down to Bermuda.
Yeah.
And pick up the oil tankers coming up for to America. They gathered in Bermuda, and you picked them up, and then you brought them up to join a bigger convoy, maybe 5 or 6 days at sea. They joined up and finished that trip in another convoy. And there was a film made, I don't know, I'm trying to mind the name of it. But it was about a Nyler, oil ship, and she come up and she joined the convoy, and after she joined the convoy, she was up in a mix-up with the submarines. They set her on fire and she burned quite a while. And the crew, it was quiet and they weren't moving for a while. The crew went back aboard and put out the small fires that were left and started up the ship again and brought her. Now, what was the name of that film? Well, that ship came up. We brought that ship for Bermuda, up to the British waters, just instead of us. And when she was hit, she was about 24 hours before they got the fire out. But they lighted up the fires again. I mean, it took a big shot.
So what, they got hit by a torpedo?
They were torpedoed.
So they were torpedoed and they managed to...
Yeah, and
it didn't sink?
They sailed about disabled and washed the fumes away until brought the height of inflammation down, and then they lit the fires again and brought her into to England. Now I can't mind the name of that ship.
Oh, that's crazy.
But there is a film of it. It's not the right name, but that's the story.
Yeah.
That was about one of my only really active pieces of.
Yeah.
I never did anything.
Did your brothers do similar things to you?
They didn't get the chance. John was lost in the first 6 months.
Oh, what was he? What was he doing?
The ship was he was on a trawler up at Shetland, and she was sunk up there.
So is he?
In the first 6 months.
So he was in the. So was he on like one of the
local convoy duty around the coast?
Okay, so was it for fishing and?
But Wally, he was on another merchant cruiser the same as I was, the Carnarvon Castle, and she was engaged in the north, around the equator somewhere, I think, about a week and a fortnight before Christmas in, I forget the year, and the general got away, but there was one gun's crew were killed, and he happened to be one. And they were within one was in August, I think, and the other was in December.
In the same year? Oh wow.
And I didn't know until the following March.
Oh really?
The mail, you see, just followed on. They just sent mail to where the ship were supposed to be going. So if you got a diversion, that mail chased you halfway around the world.
Yeah.
So you never had a consistent, near enough, but all the mail was late. You just had to put up with it. The liners were fast enough to do what they were supposed to do. If they got a chance, but you see they're dodging along at maybe 10 or 11 knots, and up comes a submarine. Well, see, the submarines could all do men-not, and you had to be able to outmaneuver them. Huge 23,000 ton ships, liners.
Were there any, did the UK and any of the Allies have any submarines out at the same time? Or was it?
Anybody?
Well, so the Germans had the U-boats, submarines going around. Were there any submarines from the sort of Allied side, the UK?
Yeah.
How would you have liked to have been on a submarine?
We don't really at all.
How come?
We went into, how long ago? See, I can remember this. East Africa, Dakar. Dakar on East Africa, we went into Dakar. And here's the Germans' biggest submarine with biggest gun lying in the harbour. And we knew we would be sent out to chase after her, but we didn't but on the way, the skipper, he decided he would just move the ship at night and be between the submarine and the open sea, you see. But the next morning when we got up, no submarine, the submarine was off.
Oh, it just...
He got out.
Had the same idea, or a similar idea.
Got out. That was one of the nearest to action that ever I was at. I was only once, what they called an auction, wasn't such a thing. But they attacked us, we defended ourselves, we were damaged, but it was only a small thing to the rudder. They patched up the next boat door. They were actually, didn't want to be.
What, didn't want to be?
An action.
No, of course not, no.
And then I went out, you see, I went out first, and I think it was about the 23rd of September, we sailed from Southampton for that big boat in India, this side. Boys, we're getting ancient and I wasn't minded. But that was our base, and that we sailed for there. Well, it took us, we were there before Christmas, just. And then we were patrolling there, taking convoys from here to there. And you see, we just went with the main convoy. We were just actually part of the main convoy because we had no detection gear aboard the liners.
Any what detection? Sorry, I didn't hear you. What was it, detection?
Submarine.
Submarine detection.
Anti-submarine detection. We had none. See, that was what the trawlers and the destroyers, that was the way they were built faster, and that was their duty, escorting. An escort would have, well, maybe 3, 6, 9. A big convoy would have maybe 9 or 12 destroyers and what have you, 3 up and down the side, going round the boat, keeping station all the road across.
So how many ships would they be protecting in the convoy?
Oh, 100 and odd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Aye. We used to count it roughly 10 by 10. 10 a mile apart, and it had to be so far apart so that any quick movements you had plenty of room to manoeuvre. And again, it was the signal, whenever the signal turned to starboard, it was all written down. They knew just how far they had to turn, what speed they had to try and maintain, and all the rest. It was right then. You can imagine 100 ships between here and Montrose on lines.
Yeah.
10 lines of 10 ships.
So did you have like radio communication between the ships, or was it all done on the?
Oh, I did radio.
There was radio. Yeah. But it was, if you had to send a signal to everyone at once, you would do it by the steam and the noise. So you were saying about Canada. When you were in Canada, you made you sort of enjoyed it there when you were sort of on shore.
The people were very good, and of course the navymen, especially the juniors, the ordinary seamen, you were working for 14 bob a week. You see, so you didn't have larger costs. And when you was in, like you say, Canadian cities, Halifax and places, when you went ashore, it was 25 cents to get to the pictures. So your spare cash you had didn't last very long. But the local population were very good, very good. And it was all done, more or less done through the kirk.
Yeah.
You see, in the Navy, it doesn't matter what port you're in, on Sunday, if there's a church England, Presbyterian, what have you, you had to go ashore there, because, and they just held a sort of a little service for the ones that were left on duty. So every Sunday you knew you was going to be to kirk somewhere. So when you was coming out, you got introduced to them, and oh boy, they were great.
So you would go to a Presbyterian Church of Scotland church?
Yeah, they were great. They couldn't do enough for you.
Generous folks.
Couldn't do enough for you. There was one family. He was a headmaster. He was the principal at St John's High School, and the first Sunday we were there. Of course, again, a volunteer to go for lunch. This gentleman had asked to take somebody to lunch. A volunteer, please, to go, and of course nobody was willing to volunteer, just on your own. So once again, youngest, you go. And for then on, I wrote letters to him and came across after the war. When he retired, he got a fortnight's leave as a retirement present for the government to tour Europe just to see the state situation, and he came here and stayed here 2 or 3 days.
Oh, what, up in Good?
Oh,
nice.
Came here. Oh, aye. The door was open. When you went in, it was not a case of phoning and, well, and saying you was coming. You just walked up, knocked at the door, and you come. Just walk in here.
Different times.